Hi, I'm Erica Joseph, president at the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore.
All right, Erica, can you tell me a little bit about your career path and story?
Well, it was sort of interesting. I work in a nonprofit. I really didn't know that that was an option. I had been a volunteer in the past, but then after I went to college and I went to graduate school, one of the things I did in between was I worked in an AmeriCorps position, which is a national service program. And what that did was it introduced me to a lot of different organizations that I knew because I had volunteered with, but I didn't realize that there were actual jobs in that world. And so after I finished up my degree, I wanted to move back to the area that I had grown up in. And so that's what we did. And I found a job. Back in those days, you still like looked in the paper. And so actually my mom found it and said, this sounds kind of interesting. Maybe you should apply. And so that's how I found the Community Foundation.
So what does an average day in your career look like?
Well, now it's kind of interesting because, you know, with the virtual space, it's a little bit different. But in a normal year, what's great about my job is that every day is a little bit different. Some days I'm doing, you know, paperwork and desk work and meetings, but a lot of times I get to visit nonprofits that we're supporting. And so I might get to do, you know, a tour at the Salisbury Zoo, or I might get to go visit students at one of our local schools, or I might get to, you know, do a behind the scenes tour of some, you know, new construction that's happening. So it's, you know, it's always a little bit different depending on the day. I might be spending time with donors who are supporting us and other organizations. So fundraisers for some of our partner nonprofits. So it's really great because no day is the same and we really never get bored.
That's wonderful. When you say donors, Erica, can you explain to me what you mean by that they're supporting different organizations?
Sure. So along with volunteers, one of the important things for any nonprofit is to get financial support from individuals in the community, from businesses, from foundations like ours. And so donors, individuals who help support whether it's a $50 donation to an organization they care about, or maybe something more substantial. Those are really important contributions that people in the community make, along with the time that they give through volunteer service.
Wonderful, thank you. So what type of skills do you need to have for your job?
Well, I think that, one of the things to keep in mind for any nonprofit is it's just like another business. So you have to have across your team all the same kinds of skill sets that you would for anything. You might have accounting and financial and marketing. You have, administrators and program people who help keep things in order and make sure you're staying on track. But for mine, one of the most important skills that I've learned over the years is being able to listen and being able to prioritize, and also to be able to delegate, to trust in the people that I work with so that they can take, ownership and do things that, might be outside of my own skill set, but together we're strong because we have that team in place.
Yeah, that's great. So what type of education, you mentioned college and grad school. Can you explain to me what type of education beyond high school is needed for a career of your type?
So I know everyone's path is a little bit different. And so I did go right out of high school into college and got a 4-year degree. And then after a year of AmeriCorps, went right to grad school for that degree. That's not the path everybody takes, but I know that for me, that college education was a great foundation that helped me learn a variety of skills. It gave me time to do a lot of internships, which were really important to helping me figure out what I was interested in. And then it also gave me some relationships that I was able to use as I started thinking about what I wanted to do in my career. I think for somebody who wants to be an executive, those types of experiences can be really important because it helps give you a solid sense of all the different types of areas that you might be working in. And so even though my expertise, for example, isn't in finance, having that education background gave me the basics that I needed to build on in other areas.
Right. In your position, you need a little bit of all of that. So you
A little bit of all of that. And so
yes,
that was
yes,
helpful.
you've done that. Awesome. How would you say you use time management in your job?
Well, and I know, you're in a nonprofit too, and there are always so many more things that need to get accomplished than we seem to have time in the day for. And so for me, one of the things that I have tried to learn is I need to make lists because I don't want to forget things. And so finding ways that I can, keep track of the things that maybe aren't priorities today, but that have to get addressed at some point. And I also find myself trying to make a little bit of progress across different things. So instead of doing just one project all day, unless it's really deadline driven, I try to move all the different priorities that I have that day and spend a little bit of time on each one so that I feel like at least that progress happened, even if I didn't get it completely done.
I think that's a great way to accomplish your tasks. That's awesome. So you've done a lot of great things at the Community Foundation. What would you say is the coolest thing you've ever done at work?
Well, I know that a lot of young people will be seeing this, so hopefully I'm not dating myself too much, but one of the coolest things that I got to do a couple of years ago was I went to an event that was celebrating volunteerism and philanthropy, and Cal Ripken Jr. was there, and they have the Cal Ripken Foundation, and just by chance, another colleague and I got to sit right at his table and have lunch with him, which was really cool growing up as an Orioles fan. So that was sort of a personal, like, wow, this is really cool. Like I'm sitting next to a famous person. But on a day-to-day basis, one of the things that is really cool is to be able to get to see the positive impact of the work that we get to do, because it really does help people. So scholarships for kids and helping organizations, feed hungry people and house homeless people. When you get to see that, it does feel really good. And so, it's across the board, even though getting to meet Cal Ripken was pretty cool too.
That's great. So what kind of advice would you give middle or high school students about choosing a career?
Well, I don't know that when I was that age, I had any idea what I really wanted to do. I loved science and I loved social studies. So I don't know what I thought I would do with that, but those were sort of the classes that I was always drawn to. So I sort of thought that I would go into something more scientific as a future career. But the advice I would give them would just be to try to learn as much as you can about people in your world. What do they do for a living? Where do they work? What kinds of jobs are there outside of maybe what they just, what they do day to day? And then look for opportunities as you get older to, get a job as soon as you can, to see what kinds of things you like and to start to learn skills, to build your resume through volunteer work, because then you'll learn things you like and things you don't. And if you decide college is a path, I really think that anything that you can do related to doing internships is one of the best things I got out of college, along with the education, was all of the different experiences and organizations that I got to work with, government, private sector, nonprofits, and that really helped me focus in on what I wanted to do every single day.
Thank you, Erica. I think that's great advice, and thank you for taking the time today to answer our questions and fill our students in on your career and what you do at the Community Foundation.
Well, thank you for having me, Kate.